Have you ever felt the weight of a betrayal that burned so deep it scorched the very edges of your soul? A betrayal that changed you forever. The kind that stole your trust, rewrote your innocence, and taught you that not everyone who claims to love you is actually for you? This story isn't a fairy tale. There's no sparkling magic or perfect ending tied in a ribbon. But what it holds is something far more real.
Truth, pain,
And a strange twist of fate. It all began on an ordinary Tuesday in a town that forgot how to dream. The skies were gray, like the smudged pages of an old journal. And in that silence, I heard the echo of a voice I had spent years trying to forget. There's something haunting about familiar voices, isn't there? They carry weight, a certain vibration, a resonance that opens old wounds like a forgotten letter found in a drawer, creased, stained, but still sharp. That voice, once my sanctuary, had once held promises like lullabies and yet had cut me deeper than any blade ever could. You see, this story is not just about heartbreak. It's about the slow poison of trust being broken, not by an enemy, but by the very person I once called my home. When they left, they didn't just walk away. They took parts of me. Parts one thought I'd never get back. Nights filled with unanswered questions. Days numbed by silence. I remember staring at the ceiling, whispering to myself, why? Like it would bring clarity. But it never did. Time passed as it always does. And like sand slipping through fingers, the pain didn't vanish. It just settled deeper. Until that one moment, that one afternoon, when the door creaked open and there they were. My heart didn't beat. It thundered. The kind of thunder that's not heard but felt in the ribs, in the knees, in the shaking hands. The kind of thunder that screams, is this really happening? They stood there, holding nothing but a casual expression, as if we were old friends bumping into each other in a coffee shop. No guilt, no regret, just presence. Have you ever met the ghost of someone still alive? That's what it felt like. But this story isn't just about a return. It's about what led to the goodbye, and the storm that followed. Because what they did changed everything. And now, for the first time, I'm ready to tell it all. From the very beginning. Let me tell you about him. The one who changed the course of my life. His name doesn't really matter now, does it? Because people like him, they carry different names in every story. Yours might have been called love, or friend, or even soulmate. But for me, he was the storm before I even knew how to dance in the rain. We met when I was still naive enough to believe that promises meant something. That when someone said, I'll always be here, they meant through the storms, the silences, and the sleepless nights. He was charming in that quiet, almost dangerous kind of way. The kind of charm that doesn't shout, it whispers and pulls you in before you even realize you're caught. He had eyes that carried stories. Sad ones. The kind you want to fix. I remember thinking, he's broken, but maybe I can help. Isn't that how so many stories begin? Not with love, but with the belief that your love can heal them. He laughed like he didn't belong in this world, and I smiled because it felt like a secret only I got to witness. He made me feel seen in ways I didn't even know I was invisible. That's the trick of it, isn't it? The people who betray you the most are usually the ones who made you feel the most alive. He didn't just enter my life. He embedded himself into it. We talked for hours about nothing and everything. He asked me questions no one had ever asked, about my childhood fears, my favorite songs, the kind of sky I liked best. And when he looked at me, I felt like he saw the soul I'd hidden from the rest of the world. But slowly, cracks began to show. Small things at first. Messages that went unanswered. Apologies that felt too rehearsed. Smiles that didn't reach his eyes anymore. I told myself it was stress. That he was tired. That love is supposed to be patient, understanding. And so I understood. Over and over again, I understood him until I forgot to understand myself. Until the day I saw the message that shattered it all. It was short, careless. A flirtatious whisper meant for someone else, but accidentally left visible to me. My heart didn't break, it collapsed. I remember holding my phone like it was a grenade, ticking, and I was too stunned to move. I confronted him.
Of course I did.
And you know what he said? It's not what it looks like. But it always is, isn't it? When someone lies to your face, they're not just hiding the truth, they're hiding the version of you they know will hurt the most from hearing it. Still, I stayed. Not because I was weak, but because I was loyal. Because I believed in the version of him I had once loved. The version who smiled at me under starlit skies and made pinky promises under our favorite tree. I thought love meant holding on. I didn't realize sometimes it means letting go. He left not long after. And when he did, he didn't say goodbye like someone who was sorry. He said goodbye like someone who had already walked away months ago. I was just late to realize it. In the months that followed, I fell apart quietly, smiling in front of friends, crying when no one looked. The world kept moving, but mine stayed still, paused on the moment when he chose someone else. I spent a long time rebuilding myself, piece by painful piece. And just when I thought I had finally closed the chapter, he walked back in. But this time, I was no longer the same person he left behind. It was a regular day. One of those rare afternoons where peace didn't feel like a stranger anymore. I was sipping coffee, scrolling through photos I had long forgotten existed, when his name lit up my phone. That name still carried an echo. At first, I thought my eyes were playing tricks. But no, it was him. A simple, "Hey, you free to talk?" And just like that, the universe tilted. He didn't return with grand apologies or flowers in hand. No cinematic moment. Just a few hesitant words, as if he wasn't sure if he still had the right to speak them to me. And honestly, he didn't. But curiosity is a powerful thing, especially when your heart used to beat for the person behind the screen. So we talked. It started casual, like two people catching up after years of silence. But beneath the small talk was an undertone. A weight. A subtle regret he was trying not to name too quickly. He laughed nervously, paused often, as if he was treading a thin line between apology and excuse. Then he said it. "I've changed. I see everything now." How convenient, isn't it? That people only seem to see when you're no longer blind. He spoke about the things I used to beg him to understand. My feelings, my worth. The way his silence had shattered more than just moments, it shattered my sense of being enough. And now, here he was, echoing everything I had once prayed he'd realize. He said he couldn't stop thinking about me. That in every person he tried to connect with after me, he saw flashes of what we had. But nothing stayed. Nothing ever stayed. "They didn't have your spirit," he whispered. I won't lie. Part of me softened. That part that still remembered the good. That still missed the laughter, the late-night talks, the way he used to reach for my hand like it was his anchor. But another part of me, the wiser one, stood taller, firmer. Because, you see, it's easy to want someone when they're gone. It's easy to miss what you mishandled. I asked him why now. Why come back after all this time? He sighed. And I heard the heaviness in it. Because no one made me feel the way you did. And I know I lost something rare.
Yes, he did.
He lost the woman who stayed through the storm. The one who didn't leave when he broke her. The one who gave all the right love to the wrong man. He asked to meet. And against every rational instinct, I said yes. Not because I still loved him, but because I needed to see the man who had caused 1,000 silent cries. I needed closure. Or maybe I needed to remind myself that I was no longer the girl who would shrink just to fit into the corners of his inconsistent love. The day we met, he looked older. Not in the physical sense, but spiritually, like life had worn down some of the arrogance. He smiled nervously, eyes scanning me like he was searching for the girl he left behind. But she was gone. In her place stood a woman with fire in her veins and clarity in her soul. We talked for hours. He told me things he never could before. He admitted the fears he hid behind pride. The way he sabotaged us because, deep down, he never felt worthy of the way I loved him. That my love was so pure, it terrified him. He said he's been carrying guilt like a second skin. That I haunt his dreams. That every time something good happens, he wonders if it would have been better shared with me. And I listened. But this time, I didn't melt. I didn't beg. I didn't hope. I told him I was happy, he was healing. I told him forgiveness is a gift I've already given, not because he asked, but because I needed peace more than I needed justice. But I also told him something else. I'm not the girl you left. I'm the woman you can't reach anymore. He looked down, nodding slowly. And in his silence, I saw the truth. He had come back, but he was too late. Because sometimes people do change. They do realize. But that doesn't mean they deserve a second chance at what they destroyed. Sometimes, the lesson isn't about rekindling what was lost. It's about respecting who you've become without them. After that meeting, I didn't expect to hear from him again. I thought maybe he got the closure he needed. Or maybe he finally realized that what we had was sacred, and that sacred things don't come with second chances once you break them. But he kept showing up. Not in grand ways. No flowers, no handwritten letters. Just presence. Text messages checking in. Comments on old memories. Little reminders that he still thought of me, still hoped. At first, I kept my distance. A part of me was still protecting the wounds I'd finally learned to carry without bleeding. But another part, let's be honest, was curious. What if he had really changed? What if people could grow and learn? What if this was a love that just needed time to find its way back? I watched closely. He no longer flinched at my strength. He didn't try to shrink my light like before. He supported my voice, celebrated my wins, and didn't make my softness feel like a burden. He showed patience. Not in the way of someone trying to win, but in the way of someone who finally understood. And slowly, I let him back in. But this time on my terms. I wasn't the woman who waited for texts anymore. I didn't lose sleep wondering if I was too much. I didn't dilute my fire just to keep someone warm. He entered a version of my life that was already whole. Not one that needed him, but one that would allow him only if he truly belonged. And he noticed the difference. He once told me, "You feel like home, but this time, I know what it takes to deserve to live here." That line stayed with me, because this version of him didn't run from the truth. He didn't hide behind ego. He asked deep questions, held space for my anger, didn't flinch when I revisited old wounds, and instead of saying, "That's in the past," he said, "I'm here now, tell me everything." It didn't mean the pain disappeared. It didn't mean trust rebuilt itself overnight. But it meant I wasn't walking alone anymore. We started redefining what us could mean, not based on who we used to be, but based on who we had both become. Still, I remained grounded. Because the thing about broken things is even when you glue them back, the cracks still show. And sometimes, the cracks tell a story worth remembering. I had friends warning me, "You're playing with fire. He'll hurt you again." People don't really change. But what they didn't see, what only I knew, was that I had changed. And because of that, I wasn't afraid of fire anymore. I had walked through it. I had become it. So even if this man did return to old patterns, I wouldn't. Because I no longer operated from fear or loneliness or desperation for validation. I now operated from love, strength, wisdom. And so I gave this new him space, not to prove himself to me, but to reveal himself. And what I saw, a man doing the internal work, quietly, consistently, not to win me, but to become better for himself. He told me he'd started therapy, that he was unlearning years of emotional suppression, that he cried now, openly, prayed, reflected. He even showed me a note in his phone titled "What She Deserved." It listed every moment he remembered where he failed me, and next to each one what he would do differently now. I read it in silence. My eyes stung. Not because I wanted to go back in time and change things, but because for the first time I felt seen. Truly, deeply seen. He said to me, "Even if we never become what we once were, I will always honor what you taught me. You didn't just love me, you awakened me." And with those words, something shifted. Not in my heart, but in the air around me. As if the angels who watched me cry all those lonely nights were now whispering, "See? We told you. Nothing you gave was wasted." Because sometimes, the blessing isn't in getting the love you wanted. It's in watching someone evolve because of how purely you loved them. Even if they don't stay. even if it's not forever. Even if the ending is still unclear. The healing you inspired in another person, that's legacy. And I realized, whether we move forward as friends, lovers, or just a bittersweet chapter, he now walks this earth a better man because I once walked beside him. And that is enough. Beloved soul, there are moments in life when you question why you had to endure so much. Why you had to break before you bloomed. Why the people you loved most seemed to hurt you the deepest. But the angels have watched every tear. They stood by you in every silent breakdown, in every lonely night when all you wanted was someone to see you, really see you. And now they come with a message. They say, you were never alone. And everything you gave, every ounce of love, patience, forgiveness, it wasn't in vain. You see, your soul was placed on this path not to be destroyed by love, but to transform through it. You were meant to show others what divine love looks like in human form. And though it cost you dearly, it also crowned you in ways no one else could ever touch. Let that sink in. The way you love, it heals people. You don't just say words. You breathe life into the broken. You don't just hold someone, you anchor their spirit. You don't just forgive, you free. And that's why it hurts so much. Because people didn't always know what to do with a heart like yours. They mistook your softness for weakness. They confused your empathy for naivete. They didn't realize that your love wasn't ordinary. It was sacred. But the angels want you to understand something now. The man who came back, the one who realized, late but clearly, what you truly were. His return is not just about romance. It's about closure, confirmation, and completion. Because sometimes God allows certain people to come back, not to stay, but to witness who you've become. To see that you didn't just survive them, you ascended. To recognize that while they were figuring themselves out, you were building something sacred with God.
And now
the angels say, it is safe for you to receive. You've given for so long. You've loved even when it was hard. You've stayed loyal in seasons where others would have turned cold. But now it's your season of return. The same way this man returned with clarity, remorse, and growth, so will other blessings. Doors that once closed without explanation, they're unlocking. Connections that faded without warning, they're realigning. And the love you thought was lost, the angels whisper, it's not lost. It's evolving. And whether this man is part of your forever or just the proof of your power, he is not your only promise. God isn't just sending one person to show you your worth. He's sending abundance, overflow, love that won't leave you guessing. But before that comes, the angels ask you to honor yourself for everything you've done. Look at you, still soft after all the storms, still open after all the betrayal, still radiant, even after being dimmed. Do you know what that means? It means you're a walking miracle. And those who see you now, they aren't just admiring your beauty. They're witnessing your rebirth. This man, the one who came back, he's finally recognizing the royalty you've always carried. And whether you choose to let him stay or set him free with peace, you're choosing from power now, not pain. Because that's what healed women do. That's what divinely protected souls do. And the angels are clapping for you. They're saying, you did it. You broke the cycle. You didn't let the heartbreak harden you. You let it shape you. And now you're ready. Ready to love again with wisdom. To receive again, with no need to shrink. To walk in your purpose, with no apologies. Because the truth is, you were never just someone's lesson. You were always God's message. And to the one who finally sees you, they will never want to look away again. My beloved, as we reach this final part of the message, take a deep breath. Feel that? That's heaven embracing you. That's the peace you've been craving. The kind that doesn't need permission to settle into your chest. Because the angels have one final word for you, and it's not just a message. It's a declaration. They say, you are no longer waiting. You are walking in it now. You see, for so long, your life has felt like a hallway. Doors would appear, but remain shut. People would enter, then exit, leaving you with questions, silence, and echoes. But now, that hallway ends. A door has opened, and it leads not just to blessings but to recognition. The person who walked away before now sees your light. They've gone through a wilderness of their own, thinking they'd find something easier, lighter, less overwhelming than what you offered. But what they found was emptiness. Because no matter how far they went, your essence followed. It haunted their spirit, not in guilt, but in truth. They now understand. You weren't too much. They were just too distracted to receive what was holy.
And today?
They are stunned by your growth. They whisper your name differently now because it carries weight. They realize they didn't lose a lover. They lost a lifeline. But here's where your power shines brightest. You don't need their validation anymore. You've been validated by heaven. You've been kissed by the divine. And every scar you carry now glows. It tells a story not of defeat, but of divine intervention. Let that settle. You are not broken. You are anointed. That's why people misunderstand you. That's why the world tried to shrink you. That's why your path was harder, because it was sacred. The angels reveal that even now, the heavens are still aligning your destiny. The person who came back, they may have finally seen the real you. But now you must ask, do they match the woman you've become? Because you're not returning to old versions of yourself just to make others comfortable. You're not dimming your light to be understood. You've been through too much. You've been refined by fire. You've had conversations with God in the middle of the night that no one knows about. And now you rise, not with vengeance, but with vision. You rise with a knowing that a love should never be confusing. A loyalty should never be conditional. And your presence is not something to be earned back. It's a gift to be cherished. So, what happens next? The angels say this. You don't chase. You attract. You don't beg. You bless. You don't plead. You pray and watch God move. This next chapter is sacred. It will not be like the last. You'll walk into rooms and feel the energy shift, not because you're loud, but because your soul speaks volumes. You'll meet people who don't want to change you. They want to cover you, protect you, pour into you the way you poured into others for years. And maybe, just maybe, this man who returned will be part of that next chapter. Or maybe he was just the final echo of a lesson completed. Either way, you win. Because now you choose from wisdom, not from wounds. You walk with discernment. You rest in peace. And you radiate glory. The angels want you to know. Nothing you've lost compares to what's about to arrive. The wait wasn't punishment. It was preparation. You had to be hidden for a season because God was preserving you. He didn't want just anyone to mishandle your heart again.
But now?
Now you're being revealed. And heaven is watching to see you bloom. So, let the world be stunned. Let the ones who once overlooked you stop and stare. Because they're not just looking at a woman. They're witnessing a miracle. And the next time someone asks what happened to you, smile and say, God happened to me. And that's the most beautiful transformation of all.